little bit just because, yeah, I had family visiting. Now I'm playing catch up. It's almost end of the week already again. And I was like, I have not talked to the family. So let's have this conversation. And this is going to be a random conversation. It's not going to be anything because that's what I am at the end of the day. So anyway, what I noticed, which is what made me go live, was that Jackson, Mississippi is still having issues with its water, along with Flint, Michigan. I know that certain things went viral to attempt to say that these things were resolved, but they're okay. And so the reason why this is critical to understand, especially now, especially in the age of AI, which I've done a video already, is that with the data centers, they actually impact our power grids and our water supply. Okay, so if they put a data center in a community, it is going to impact our power grid, your power, and your water. So we already have communities that already have water crisis, already are dealing with issues with water, hearing a lot of things about certain entities purchasing all the water supply routeways, so forth, etc., and making plans. Now, what does this mean for us? How do you prepare? What do you do? How do you get your family prepared? You know, is it stockpile water? You know, I think I read something that Walmart, with some issues with the water from Walmart, you know, get filters, you know, work on having clean water sources, you know, maybe collecting it from, you know, they have the Moses West that created the machine that makes water out of air. You know, if I ever build a village or a community, that would be one of the things we would automatically include, is that machine. Like, there is no way I would not get one of those machines with everything that's happening with the water and the water supply right now. That would be the main thing I would get. I would like, we have to have the machine that makes water out of air. That is just critical in this time. And so when you are seeing all these things and you're thinking about artificial intelligence, you're thinking about AI, you're loving the fact of ChatGPT, you love the Grok, you love the I don't know, what's the other one, DeepSeek, all the artificial intelligence that's out here. You know, you're loving how it's helping your processing, helping you make plans, creating things for you to whatever it may to do. We now have to begin to say, what cost are we being able to get our lives to be smoother, right? To be better. We have to begin to think about having responsible, kind of not politics, but responsible builds, responsible things that are not extracting from the majority of people, right? And I think that is where we have found ourselves lost, especially in the U.S. You know, if you're not in the U.S., you're probably dealing with other things. You're not really still dealing with the extraction of it all, and the making money from extraction, making money from everything's for sale. Some things have at least been regulated in your area, so you have been a little bit more at an advantage than what we're dealing with and what we're getting ready to go through here in the U.S. So hats off to you. But as you see this AI and as you see those data centers, really start understanding that it's going to impact water and power. That's number one. Now, the other thing that I noticed, and I'm going to do a deeper video on this, that I will say that I have realized, especially here in the U.S. soil, is that we're just not seeing each other as human beings any longer. And so, with that being the case, it is going to impact us on a major scale, especially as we go through the global shift. And I asked, Chat, I noticed that, in America, we really don't see each other as human beings. Other places when you travel, this and other, people don't realize it's because people still recognize each other as human beings. What impact does that have to us? And I'm gonna see how I can put those slides in this live so you guys can read through it, because it really got a lot of people talking on my IG about it. It pretty much just discussed that, yeah, the reason why to keep, put into our programming to make our mental not see each other as human beings is to see each other as human beings. So therefore, you will more likely fight each other before you come together. It's easier to control you when you're by yourself. It's easier to be a target when you're by yourself. It's just easier for a lot of different things to happen. So that is very interesting when you really unpack it all and just see how that is damaging our experience here in the U.S. And I said, y'all, it's just as simple as when I was growing up. If I went to the store, wherever I was at, people would say hi to each other. People would greet each other. It is simple as that. And it may not seem like much, but I'm telling you, the micro affects the micro affects the macro, right? The micro affects the macro. The small affects the big. It really is that damaging.
In a quarter mile,
and when you get people not to even see each other as human, then you can truly get a lot of things to kind of pop off, okay? Without you doing much effort, right? And it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing that you see happening. It's a constant. Hold on, I'm trying to see what's going on. People calling me. It's a constant thing that's happening. A constant fight with each other. It's a constant, let's put people against each other. Whether it's a fight between the African diaspora and Black Americans now. You see that. You see the fight with Black men, Black women. It's always something to really tear the black people apart. You really don't see that get anything else get pushed up the algorithm. And we're energetic people. We are a vibrant people, so we like entertainment, so we just hop on it and we start even adding our voices to it. We haven't quite understand the structure that we're in, so the dynamics that's at play and the reason why to keep us fighting. We have some internal stuff we have to address, but we've been through decades and hundreds of years of trauma that is impacting us. So that is very interesting. That whole spiel of why that is the case, it is deep. Now, the other thing that I did ask about was the extreme heat, because these are the two things I'm noticing like right now impacting us as humans. And I was just like, whoa, I travel a lot. Been traveling a lot for a very long time. I've been a lot of places. I've been a lot of hot places. Been a lot of, lived in 3 different states, so forth. Traveled the country, those type of things, mostly for work. Like most of my travel has actually been more about business than it has been personal. But a lot of my work has been business travel. So interesting to see that the heat be on a significant level. So my question was just automatically, well, is the heat going to go back to normal, or do we expect the heat to continue to rise? And it was like, no, it's going to get hotter. And I'm like, whoa, like, that's not good. The infrastructure, one thing I've learned from living in 3 different states and 3 different climates, and this is the one thing I've experienced or seen and had to deal with, the infrastructure is built differently, wherever you are. So it's usually built off of, in America, it's built off of what normal weather is happening in that particular city, state, or whatever. So where, in the Midwest or up north, their infrastructure is more built for snow, to hold ice, to this, that, and other. But in the South, it's not built that way. So their infrastructure, when they have an ice storm, it pretty much is like shut down, right? It's not, you can't even get through, the whole city shuts down. And so it's very interesting when you see it. You're like, okay, well, that's interesting. They didn't just build infrastructure the same. And you would think, okay, well, that makes sense because that climate normally happens, doesn't happen, just another. But then when you go to other countries, they truly build the infrastructure for the weather that could happen in that country. Doesn't matter where you are. And when I talked about the heat, and I was like, okay, well, how's that going to impact the infrastructure? We already know we got failing infrastructure. We know the roads are bad, they're cracking, the bridges, so forth. So now we got extreme heat that's going to make things buckle. Okay? Like, this is not good. Now, you also have heat that is going to impact animal life. That is going to be extreme. And other places are used to dealing with heat and not having to, they're used to maybe rolling out some power. They're used to, having to not do this at a certain time. This is where America is going real quickly. It's not like, oh, this is going to be years down the line. This is not going to happen here, this, that, and other. If you are a state that is in one of the heated to support the things that are occurring, so you have to then be like, okay, what does that now mean? How do I prepare for this? What do we begin to do? It's not to be fear-mongering at all. We're just having the conversations are have to go through some extremes, and we have to get prepared as a people to deal with it. And we've been through it before, and some people are going to be more prepared than others. But when it comes to the heat, you have to now start focusing on what you eat. You have to eat lighter. You have to make sure you're getting hydrating things into your system. Electrolytes, not just drinking water. You have to now change your whole entire diet so that your body doesn't have a heat stroke. We just talked about internal. Now when you get to the external part, you now have to be prepared for power outages, rolling outages, because they got to control the power. What are you doing to do that? Or do you have some solar powered things? Are you making sure you have water? Are you making sure you have the filters? Just those type of things. We're at a time where, yes, everybody's kind of up in arms about what's happening, how it's happening, and oh my God, I can't believe this, and other people's arguing about whose fault it is, how did it happen, da, da, da. I'm like, y'all, it was always going to happen because America just refused to deal with its foundation. It was just a matter of time. So, but what I want us to get us to is, let's start talking about what do we want it to look like afterwards. How do we want our new government structure to be? How do we want our infrastructure to be? How do we want our cities and communities now to look? How do we go through the transition and make sure we have the things connected for the people that's going to need it? How do we, continue on past the arguing of what's happening? And this is not for everybody. Some people are just going to argue until they can't argue no more. This is not something where I'm trying to reach everybody, this, that, and other. This is only for a certain group of people who are ready to begin to understand what's next and really begin to walk through that process of what's next. And that's where the conversation has to start leading to. There's no saving this, what is dying. There's no bringing back a lot of certain things. It wasn't working truly anyway. It was kind of working, but it really wasn't working. That's what nobody wants to admit. This is why it was so easy to tear apart. So it's time to start thinking what's next. And that's where I wanted to leave you guys with. Have a great one.